Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another daily debate session. And today we have another daily debate session with a very interesting topic, which we have mentioned in the daily resource, which I have made already today when we spoke about psychology and debate. And it seemed like a very interesting topic to me, something that I value way too much and I consider as a very important skill. And today, in today's motion, we're going to be discussing if it is necessary to have a therapy session in secondary schools. There's going to be a team that's going to be debating for this motion, and there's another team that's going to be against the motion. In the team for the motion, we have Bari and we have as well Sai. Hello, guys.
Hello.
And in
Hi.
the hello, and in the opposition, we have Ranat Kadam by himself, unfortunately, but he is capable of taking care of it. Hello. All right. If you guys are ready, the team for the topic, the proposition, we can start with the first speech, which is going to be a 3-minute speech presenting arguments and facts. And in the second speech, the rebuttal speech is going to be 2 minutes. Whenever you guys are ready.
Okay, I'll start on the self count of 3, 2, 1. This house believes therapy should be mandatory in all secondary schools. We teach students how to calculate derivatives, how to write essays, but we rarely teach them how to cope with being human. The one thing every student carries with them every day is their mental health. And ironically, it's the one thing schools consistently fail to prioritize. Rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide are rising among teenagers. It's time education systems finally step up. Mental health isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Let's be clear here. Students are dying. I've seen this firsthand. Two of my own friends from two different schools took their lives after drowning in pressure with no one to turn to. Suicide is one of the leading causes of death among teenagers. So, when my opposition might say therapy should be optional, what they're really saying is only some students deserve help. Mandatory therapy creates a safety net, a safe space, a consistent presence, and someone trained to notice when something's wrong. Sometimes the therapist might be the only adult a student feels safe talking to. A common misconception is that therapy is only for people in crisis. It's not. It's a space for growth, reflection, and coping with daily stress. It's not about fixing kids, it's about helping them understand themselves in a world full of pressure to perform and pretend. For those with toxic homes or silent struggles, therapy might be the only place they feel safe. And for the ones who seem fine, it can be the early intervention that saves them. Some students will never even come forward because they're scared. Because they've been told mental health issues are drama or weakness. Because their trauma is their home. My opponents may argue that therapy should be optional, but availability does not mean accessibility. If we don't bring therapy to them, we'll never reach the ones who need it the most. They might say we don't have enough professionals, but that's why this is needed. Therapy is undervalued and underfunded. Probably because people like my opposition may turn to treat it like a quick fix job. But therapy isn't fixing leaks, it's walking beside someone through their life. We spend on uniforms, stadiums, even annual days, yet when it comes to mental health, budgets dry up. Be honest, how can students solve algebra if they're falling apart inside? They might say therapy is stigmatized in many cultures, but that's exactly the problem. Opponents say therapy turns kids against their families. That's textbook manipulation. Therapy protects relationships, it doesn't destroy them. We're not forcing kids to be emotional, we're giving them a chance to be heard, and that could make all the difference. So, no, therapy isn't weakness, it's survival. And when we make it mandatory, we're not forcing kids to talk. We're making sure they can, because when students feel emotionally safe, they don't just survive school, they thrive in it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your speech. And now we're moving on to the opposition.
Yes, I'm audible, right? Yes. Yeah. I'll start on my self count of 3, 2, 1. Sir, I'll be very honest. This motion sounds great in theory, like one of those ideas that would trend on LinkedIn but fail on the real ground. Let me start with the reality check. The World Health Organization's 2021 report states that over more than 65% of low income countries have less than one mental health worker per 100,000 people. India, by the way, has only 0.75 per lakh. So my first question to the proposition is, who is exactly is going to do this mandatory therapy sessions? Your sports teacher with a 2-hour crash course on mindfulness. Sir, this motion is basically saying let's put therapy on the timetable without even checking if we have the chairs. Just because something sounds noble doesn't it always doesn't mean that it should be forced. Therapy works because it is voluntary, because someone chooses to open up. When you make it compulsory, you're not healing it, you're invading it. The UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, Article 16, clearly mentions the child's right to privacy, including psychological privacy. So forcing a teenager into a room to just open up just because the school said so, sir, that is not therapy, that's just emotional surveillance in a clean room. Also, the real world example, the Delhi government tried a happiness curriculum with counseling elements. A survey by the Hindustan Times in 2022 showed that over 85% of the students either skipped sessions or didn't even remember them. So, what's the point of mandatory therapy sessions when students mentally goes to the sessions anyway? And now let's talk about the biggest blunder from the proposition side. They said this would normalize therapy. Sir, nothing means normal when you force it. If you force therapy, you're giving students one more reason to hate it, one more reason to associate it with punishment, awkwardness, or worse, judgment from peers. You want to make mental health normal. Start with the choice, access, safe spaces, trained professionals, and voluntary consent, not attendance sheets and timetables. Because here's the truth: you cannot mass produce healing. You cannot schedule emotional breakdowns for 45-minute slots after lunch. You cannot treat therapy like it's yoga period on moral science. So yes, mental health matters, but if your solution to is to put a mic in a kid's head when they didn't even ask for it, you're not helping them. You're hurting in a clean, well-intentioned way, and that's more dangerous. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech. Moving on to the team for the topic, proposition. If you have a rebuttal speech, go ahead.
Yeah. So, I'll start on the self count of 3, 2, 1. How do you help someone who won't ask for help? That's the question we are asking with this motion. Because right now, too many students are silently drowning, not because therapy isn't available, but because they are too afraid or ashamed to ask for it. The opposition says not everyone needs therapy, but let's be real. Mental health struggles don't always show. The topper might be under immense pressure. The class clown might be using humor to hide pain. We can't just assume we'll spot the signs in time. That's why therapy must be for everyone, because emotional pain doesn't wear a name tag. They argue that therapy should be voluntary. Ideally, yes, but in reality, most students won't volunteer. They have been raised in a world that still whispers the word mental health like it's something to hide. Mandatory therapy doesn't take away freedom, it's remove stigma. It says this is normal, this is a part of school, this is for you. They said students will stay silent, maybe, but showing up still matters. Therapy isn't a one-time fix, it's a habit. Even if the student says nothing, they have entered a space where speaking is loud, not judged, and that, over time, changes everything. And yes, counselor shortages are real, but that's not a reason to reject this motion. That's a reason to act. We don't wait to build the system after another student's breakdown. We build it now because silence has already cost too much. So now we are not forcing feelings, we are creating space. We are saying your mind matters every week, every student, no exceptions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech. Moving on to the last speech of today's debate. And after that, I would request you guys to please stay in the meeting, as I usually provide feedback. Maybe some other guys don't do that, but I'd love to provide feedback as usual. Go ahead, Pranad. 2 minutes.
I'll start on my self count of 3, 2, 1. Sir, I heard the proposition side, and honestly, it sounds nice until you try to actually implement it. They said we teach kids derivatives, but not how to be a human. Fair, but forcing therapy is not teaching how to be a human. It's actually assuming something is wrong with the human unless unless they prove otherwise. That's not emotional education. That's emotional judgment. Point 2: rising suicide and depression among teenagers. Sir, no one denies that here, but even the Lancet Child and Adolescent Health study from 2021 clearly states that the quality of therapy matters just way more than the access to the therapy. And what you're proposing is not quality, it's quantity. Third, they said therapy is for everyone. Yes, but for everyone should not mean forced on everyone. We don't force everyone to take a painkiller just because they live in a stressful world. Choice is what makes therapy powerful, not pressure. And now this one: some students think mental health is just drama. Exactly. If you just make therapy mandatory, all you're doing is confirming that belief. They'll think therapy is just another adult imposed lecture, not a safe space. If you really want to fix that mindset, start by creating trust, not timetables. And the funniest one, we spend on uniforms and annual day, but not on mental health. Sir, I love how they casually ignored the real budget constraint here. Mental health spending needs professionals, training, and infrastructure. You can't just say spend on it. You need a real plan, and they haven't given one. Finally, we are not forcing. Finally, they said that we are not forcing them to be emotional. We are just giving them a chance to be heard. No, you're making them attendance compulsory, putting them in rooms they didn't ask to be in, and calling that being heard. Sir, hearing someone happens when they speak voluntarily. This is like dragging someone to the mic and saying feel safe now. So yes, therapy matters, but this motion, this isn't mental health reform. This is emotional policing in a fancy wrapper. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your speech. Now, thank you, everyone. This was a very interesting debate. Now, I would like to go through each speaker by himself and then speak about the topic in general, as it is a very interesting one. But at the same time, if you guys have paid attention, even with our guest here today, Deepika, you probably paid attention how the topic today is very tricky, actually, especially for the opposition. It's very tricky. Bari, your speech was very interesting, and you spoke about how it is optional and stuff, but you gave many arguments regarding the thing being optional and not forced. Yes, Pranat still has not really paid attention on how it's. I'm not sure exactly if I heard something wrong, but I did not hear the team for the problem or for the topic say that it's going to be forced on everybody. They said that the problem exists and we need to provide a solution for it, not provided. So, I mean, I'll make it as simple as possible. A school in a very rural area, for example, where people don't struggle with mental health because they are very tough, we could have that thing in there, a center for therapy and stuff within the school or next to it. It's not mandatory for people to go there. If they don't face the issue, they simply won't go there, and that's it. But the rule says that it is mandatory, but we're not forcing nobody to attend it. That's how simple it can get. Yes, I understand. Maybe, Pranad, you had to say that because it is your emotion, but still, we need to be more realistic. Bari, I would say that you might need to organize your arguments even more. It's not that they are not organized, but you're not giving a speech here. Your speech would be nice. I mean, yes, it is called a speech, but don't take it too literally. It is considered completely fine, but as an advice for me, I would say that it makes it easier for me as a judge to understand your arguments. List them. Argument number 1, argument number 2, number 3, 4. You listed about 3 arguments, which is very nice, but they were all clashed together. One, and then a quick transition to another one, and then you transitioned quickly to another one. And I barely even noticed the difference, but I did notice the difference. But maybe someone else would not be able to, and say throughout the 3 minutes, maybe someone who's not experienced would say that throughout the 3 minutes, she only spoke about the same thing. No, I did notice that you spoke about 3 different things, but not everyone is capable of understanding that or noticing that, especially your opponent, if he's unexperienced or she is. So make sure to point out argument number 1. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it makes my job easier. It makes my job easier, not yours. Yep, that's all I had to say. Regarding Sai, are you here?
Yeah.
Your speech was very interesting, and I knew that you only had 2 minutes, and you probably didn't get the big chunk of this speech, but you made some very good arguments, and you also added to your friends' arguments and speeches, but you've missed the most important point here, which is the one that Pranad spoke about. Pranad responded to your teammate saying that your teammate said that we are forcing this. This is something you should have probably responded to, right? Maybe you should have pointed out that Pranad has made a mistake. And that's the point of your speech here. You're supposed to be taking down his argument and defending your friend. What you said is very nice, but would have been better if you said this, if you paid attention to what I mentioned regarding him saying that this is mandatory. We did not, you're supposed to say something like, we never mentioned making this thing mandatory for the students to attend. We only making it mandatory to be there, not for the students to attend. This is something you should have said, but it's completely fine. It's completely fine. And yep, if you have any questions, go ahead. And Pranad, as I said, the topic is very tricky, and I understand, but you also had to be more diverse. You only focused on the same point for the 3 minutes and also the 2 minutes. So that's 5 minutes in total. Try to be more diverse at the same time. And maybe just a little bit, I noticed a little bit of a contradiction going on. First, you said that you spoke about how they say it's mandatory for them to attend, and then you said no. They did not say, like there was some sort of contradiction going on, a paradox, if that makes a better sense, right? Try to avoid that next time, okay? But you did very well. And try to be more diverse. But I understand, I don't want to blame you here because the topic itself is, yeah, Barry, that's okay. Now, if you guys have any questions, go ahead. And that also applies on you, Deepika. If you have any questions, go ahead. Regarding the topic itself or regarding the debate, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Is there going to be a verdict?
A what?
A verdict, like, is there like a winning or losing team, or is that?
We considered the daily debates as a training session. Some other trainers, like maybe tomorrow if you join, maybe somebody's going to announce a winner. But I don't do that. I rather provide the feedback. And I'm pretty sure you learned something today, didn't you? The win in here is that you get to apply this tomorrow and the day after and the day after. I hope that helps. And if you want to get a certificate, make sure to join our weekly sessions, monthly sessions. We host competitions on a weekly basis. If you join those and you happen to win, you'll get a certificate. Yep. If you guys have any questions regarding the topic itself or would like to discuss any further, please go ahead. Okay, in that case, we are ending the session. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and make sure to join tomorrow for more interesting topics. If you have any questions, you need any guidance regarding debating or anything, don't hesitate to contact us at the Team Debaters. Thank you, and all the best to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.